Okay, so let's start. So let's talk about why I love making people say, I never thought of it that way. It's because I love when somebody has an aha moment. Like I show them something that they didn't see before, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, like they had some sort of enlightenment. And I love that because it's like the selfless acting, right? I made a change in the direction of they were living life like this, and all of a sudden, because of this one fact, this one switch, one aha moment, now they're gonna go this way. I've actually contributed and I made a difference in this person's life. And the reason why I love that, I think, is because I think that's what we all love. Nobody wants to be a waste of space. Oh, I was born on this earth and I'm gonna die on this earth without making zero contribution to the world. Whether I was born or not, it doesn't matter. I'm completely useless, right? That's the most miserable life. The most valuable life is the one where it's like, because I was alive, these things happened. If I was dead, if I was never born, these things would not have happened. So I think every time we contribute something to the world, it makes us feel good. And every time I make somebody say, I never thought of it that way, or give somebody an aha moment, that makes me feel like I've contributed something to the world. Without the universal truth, you can't really convince anyone. Because in order for me to convince you, I have to latch onto something that you already agree with, you already believe in. If you believe in one thing, and I'm trying to force you to change your mind on this, people are going to be like, son, I don't care, I don't believe you. So when you give your personal example, what ends up happening is, that feels like you're just saying, oh, just trust me, bro. Oh, chasing money is not going to make you happy. Well, it is going to make you happy. Just trust me, bro. Or if I say, do what you love and never work a day in your life, well, that's false. But because I give the universal example, that's what makes people say, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way, right? So if you don't give the universal example, it's not going to work. I want to talk about why practicing storytelling will help you come up with myth-truth sandwich. So the first 7 weeks, what we did was, I told you to go find 5-second moments, go try to connect the dots, try to put yourself in other people's shoes, and all those things, right? And you're probably sitting there going like, okay, how is this going to help me come up with myth-truth sandwich? How's this going to make people say, I never thought of it that way? Here's how. The easiest way to come up with myth-truth sandwich is to just feel it. It's not to sit there, use your brain to try to figure it out, debunk some myth. That's not how you do it. You just have to feel it. So all the myth-truths that I came up with are stuff that I've learned the lesson in my own life. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome is the definition of insanity. Well, that's what we do, right? We get into a toxic relationship, we date the wrong person, and then we go into a toxic breakup, and then we get into a relationship with the wrong person again, and then we go into a toxic breakup again. We take the job that's not good for us, and we break up, we get fired or we leave, and then we do it again. Every new year we say, oh, I'm gonna change this, and then we don't do it. Next year we do it again and again and again, right? So why do we keep repeating the same thing, expecting a different outcome? The reason why we do it is because in our mind, we're not doing the same thing. Even though I've bought 10 courses before, which all turned out to be all bullshit, and none of those 10 high-ticket courses helped me, when I see this new course, I'm like, this time it's different. Oh, this guy is different. Oh no, this job is different. No, this year it's different. We always think that this time it's different. We're so in it deep that we don't see that we're making the same repeated pattern over and over and over and over again. And I think the reason why we do it is because we don't reflect on the last 10 times we made the same mistake and realize what really happened. If we just sat and reflected, we would see the patterns and we'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm falling into the same exact pattern again. And this is why we do that 5-second moment thing. Because every time 5-second moment happens, you're repeating those patterns. And when we do the 5-second exercise long enough, we can start to connect the dots. Oh, has the same pattern of behavior. Oh, this is similar to this other time when I did this. This is, I think, is something that I just naturally do all the time. And I don't know if it has to do with personality or if somebody can learn to do this, but we'll see. So my mom has always told me ever since I was a child, he's like, son, stop asking so many questions. You're always asking why about every little thing. But that's just like, I think, part of my personality. So when a teacher tells me something, like the last thing I want to hear is like, yes, son, because I told you so. If a teacher tell me that, like I'm literally not going to listen to anything he says from now on. Because in my mind, it's like, you're just saying that because you don't know. So I have this natural curiosity to question everything. And I think that has a lot to do with the reason why I'm able to debunk so many myths. Okay, most of us heard of the Pythagorean theorem. And it's something that we learn in geometry, right? And it's basically when you have a right angle triangle like this, and you have one side is A, another side is B, and the diagonal is the C. It's always going to be that A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So you can always figure out the length of C or A or B if you just have the other two. Now, does anybody know why the Pythagorean theorem works? When somebody tells us this, we're like, oh, I guess it's true because they said it. Oh, because the teacher said it. Oh, the government said it. News said it. So it must be true. We don't question anything. We just tend to trust anybody who looks like an authority. That teacher could be the biggest moron in the world, but because that teacher said it, I believe you. We just take everything as face value just because somebody said it. Here's another example. So everybody knows what a pi is, 3.14. Do you know why it's 3.14? This is another one of those examples. Whatever we're taught, we just believe it and we don't question why. So I just wanted to let you guys know how little we question things. Whenever I see these things, whenever somebody comes and says, son, you should do this, you should do this, I never ever take anything at face value. You better give me some fucking example of that if you want me to believe you. So I think you guys see this a lot. When you go on the hot seats, when you come on Sunday service, when you tell me something, one of the most common questions that I ask is, can you give me an example of that? And then every time I explain something, one of the most common thing I say is, for example. The reason why I do that is because if you can convince me, you can probably convince anyone, because I'm not very easily convinced. No matter what you tell me, I'm going to keep asking why until I'm convinced. So William Shakespeare said, there is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. I'm sure you've heard some similar quote around this, where inherently nothing is good or bad. Inherently, there's nothing right or wrong. A good example is this. Is sharks bad or good? So some people will say sharks are bad, like they're dangerous, blah, blah, blah. But without sharks, we wouldn't have marine life. So I want you to start thinking about the things that you think is right and try to debunk yourself and trying to figure out how you're wrong, actually. A good example is this. The pro-life versus pro-choice debate is literally the debate of the century. 40 years ago, 50% of Americans were pro-life and 50% of Americans were pro-choice. This year, 50% of Americans are pro-life and 50% of Americans are pro-choice. It's the debate that just won't go away. And the reason why is because there's no right answer to it. Just like I said, nothing is inherently good or bad. I want you to try to create a myth-truth sandwich. Basically, this week's exercise is the same as last week. As a bonus exercise, I want you to do this. Find something that you strongly believe in. One opinion that you strongly agree with. I'm 100% this, okay? And now imagine that you're debating yourself on that same idea. And I want you to try to debunk your own idea. The more you do this, the more you start to kill your ego, little by little by little. I examine the poets and I look on them as people whose talent overawes both themselves and others. People who present themselves as wise men are taken as such when they are nothing of the sort. From poets, I move to artists. No one was more ignorant about the arts than I. No one was more convinced that artists possess really beautiful secrets. However, I noticed that their condition was no better than that of the poets, and that both of them have the same misconceptions, because the most skillful among them excel in their specialty. They look upon themselves as the wisest of men. In my eyes, this presumption completely tarnished their knowledge. As a result, putting myself in the place of the oracle and asking myself what I would prefer to be, what I was or what they were, to know what they have learned or to know that I know nothing. I replied to myself and to the God, I wish to remain who I am. We do not know, neither the sophists, nor the orators, nor the artists, nor I, what the true, the good, and the beautiful are. But there is this difference between us. Although these people know nothing, they all believe they know something. Whereas I, if I know nothing, at least have no doubts about it. As a result, all the superiority and wisdom which the oracle has attributed to me reduces itself to the single point, that I am strongly convinced that I am ignorant of what I do not know. Okay, everyone, so let's try to really embody this concept of the more we understand that we know nothing, the more we're gonna learn, right? So let's go out there. I know that this week's assignment is not easy again, but try your best. I'm gonna be there to support you all this week, and have a great week. I'll see you all next Sunday. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Linda.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye,
Michael.
everyone.
Bye, Eduardo.